Speaking of proud and best racers on the planet, and probably the most talked about thing coming out of this event was the final round in Pro Mod and what happened there. And we could go through it and kind of lay out the scenario here, but I think we should get the winner of World Series of Pro Mod, who was involved in that whole situation, to kind of run us through what he was thinking and his emotions as this whole thing played out.
Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up around the world for the one, the only Derek Ward. What's up, buddy? What's up,
How you
champ? How
doing?
you feeling, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
We're hanging in there,
What's going on,
buddy.
man?
When did you guys finally get home?
7:30 last night.
What a deal, man. Well, hey, congratulations.
I like that
while-
check in the background.
I
This
do
is a
like
perfect
that.
spot for it right there. There's some good wall decor.
Yeah, that is seriously good. I want one of those, Mike. Will you give me one of those? I want one. Maybe get me a little smaller.
I'll get you a replica.
Okay, get me a replica. Make sure it says like replica, not for real use or whatever. But no, Derek, it's the story heard around the world right now. I don't think we could have asked for a more climactic final round of drag racing than we had at the World Series of Pro Mod. Let me provide the lay of the land for the folks here that maybe didn't watch along. But we're pulling cars to the water. You're in the spectator side lane, the left-hand lane. Jim Halsey's in the right-hand lane. You guys both roll up to the water box. We're moments away from firing cars, and the old fire chicken won't crank. Can you just take us through? Like, did you have any indication? I'm sure it fired up in the pits, no problem, when you warmed it up. And
Yeah, I didn't know. I went to hit the starter button, and I heard a noise. I was like, not now. So we went and grabbed the bar for the blower to turn it backwards to see if it was caught, and that didn't work. Come to find out, the solenoid fell off the starter, so there was no way we were going to start it sitting there. Thank God Halsey gave us some time to go fix it.
Well, in fairness,
and that was coming off of the fact that, and I know maybe it wasn't your decision directly, but it was Halsey was given time to repair his engine. He found damage after the semifinals. They were going to determine whether they needed to put a rack in it or swing a new motor. So that was coming on the heels of actually having to wait or delay the race so that he could be ready.
Because that was, Gavin Carter, our race director, who I can't say enough about this young man. I'm so proud of him. He's been a part of our Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30. He is absolutely a superstar in this space. And for as long as we're doing drag races, I intend to have Gavin Carter involved with him. But Gavin calls me on my cell phone. He goes, "Hey, man, Halsey needs to swing a motor. It's hurt. They're either going to put a rack in it or they're going to put a new bullet in it. What do you do you want to change the run order around? Because he's going to need a little bit of time." And I said, "Well, I didn't come here for a competition single. I came here to see a drag race, and I intend to see a drag race." I said, "So as long as we can ensure there's no downtime and move some stuff around, let's move stuff around." So we moved some things on the run order, ran some of our sportsman categories, an additional round to give Jim a little bit of time so Jim, Eric Davis, Kathy Kraus, Brandon Schweitzer, that whole crew, Brian Chin, like an incredible group of guys, to give them, nobody works harder. I don't know. I mean, those guys really work hard at the drag races. So I wanted them to have ample time to be prepared for the final. And so then this whole situation arises, and I go, Gavin comes up to me and he's like, "Hey man, what do you want to do? You want to send him on a single?" And I'm like, "No, what do you mean? Not really." And I said, "Well, what's wrong?" And then I heard the same sound you did, Derek. Like I was up between in the starter box, and I heard that classic starter ka-tink, and I go, "Oh no." And so anyways, when I get back over there, I see you already have the front end off. And one of my favorite things is when, and I know it's not always helpful, right? Because there's 700 people trying to help and only a handful of people really can help. But I go over there and I can see like, okay, this thing's not going to fire. Jim's bolted in this thing. Crew's already on the starting line. And I just walked over and swung Jim's door open, and I put my hand on his leg because I wanted him to know that I was sincere. And I said, "Hey man, I understand, right? I mean, this is a big drag race, and by the letter of the law, you should be backing up from your burnout right now, right?" I said, "But I didn't come all this way to see a competition single in the final." And he goes, "Me either." And so he goes, "How long does he need?" And I said, "I don't know, but I'll tell him to hurry." And he goes, "Okay, we'll wait." And I just thought, like, because whenever I came back up to the starting line to tell everybody what was going to happen, it was like, it was a legendary moment on everybody's behalf. Like, there's no losing for either of you guys. No matter what the outcome of that race would have been, you delivered for the fans. And I think that people appreciate that stuff. Like, I think people genuinely appreciate. I mean, can you imagine how anticlimactic that would have been? So anyways, take us through, because you guys didn't even go all the way back to your pit area. You went
No,
to Salemmi's, right?
yeah, they started pushing me back. I was trying to get out the car. They were like, "Don't get out." So they just pushed the car all the way. I was like, "My trailer's a little far down here." They're like, "No, we're going to Melanie." So we pulled in there, and before I know it, they had the jacks out. The car was jacked up, and they were pulling the old starter off. So I ran down to my trailer and got my spare starter and brung it back, and they started switching things out, and we ended up putting it on. And it didn't take us too long, but I can't say thanks enough to my crew and Evan and John and Jim and Melanie for helping me to get the car to the final round.
It was, I mean, I think it was just an iconic drag racing moment. Like, I don't know, we're blessed beyond measure to be able to experience this stuff. And so, and I know it had been a rough week for you guys kind of all together, fighting one thing after another thing after another thing. So could you give me, like, did you ever imagine that you would even find yourself in that final round? Because it's not like you had easy draws. Like, you had probably one of the toughest pathways to the final possible. Not that any way would have been easy. But like, was it on your, I mean, every drag racer worth of salt shows up to win, but considering the context of the situation and that you have had a rough week, had some struggles, what was it like even realizing that you're going to the finals of the World Series of Pro Mod?
Oh, it's a hell of a feeling. I mean, we always dream of winning a race like this, but actually living it and doing it, it's incredible. But we had like a very rough week getting there, and then actually 2 weeks we were down there testing 2 weeks ago, and then we actually had trouble with the car, so we ended up having to drive it back home, taking it to Buffalo. Jim actually fixed the car in 5 days so we could make it to this race. We drove it back home, put it together, and drove back to Florida. So it was a busy 3 weeks.
I heard about that yesterday, and I didn't know about that. I was on I can't even remember who I was talking to yesterday, maybe Paulo. But I was on the phone. He's like, "Do you know that they had that car at the chassis shop like a week ago? Like,
Yeah,
4-link brackets torn out, or the anti-roll tore out of it, or whatever,
yeah.
like completely back half of the car, and had it back down there. And just so to even make it was massively impressive. And then to be there at the end. What was your take? Like, one of my highlights of the weekend personally were the chip draws. Just like getting you guys all over there shoulder to shoulder and seeing everybody's face and listening to the reactions and whatnot. What was your thoughts on the whole chip draw deal? Did you enjoy that?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I think we drew the right chips at the right time. That's for sure.
It adds a whole different element to the race. And I wish the fans got to see some of those moments, but I also am kind of cool with it being for us, you know what I mean? Because it was like those moments were so special, and you've got everybody who's anybody in the pro mod world standing here in a circle, and it feels, I couldn't help but feel like we had this perfect marriage between the highest level of drag racing and a parking lot on a Saturday night trying to figure out who's going to run who's for a cash day street race or something. You know, it was just, it's an electric moment. Let's run through your path to the final here real quick. I actually have it.
Yeah, I was actually looking at the same thing too, and I didn't realize until just now. But man, you were a nitrous killer on this in this event. Actually took out you. I mean, you said you drew the right pairs at the right time, but Tommy Franklin right off the bat, he was the
That
number
was a
3
tough one.
qualifier.
That was our closest race all day, actually,
Yeah,
between me and Tommy.
yeah, that one. Then you had Dustin Asloni. Then we're against a nitrous car again, Marcus Butner. And then you had, and then of course Stevie, and then you had a nitrous car again in the final. So what were you thinking there as far as, I mean, these nitrous guys are trying to take you down?
Well, I knew they had good cars. I mean, they all run good. So once we got past first round, and then for the past all the races in Florida, it seems like I lose third round lately. So I was like, we can get past first round and third round. We might have a good chance to go to the finals, and that's what happened.
It's a really crazy deal. The reaction from your crew, they were so elated. Like, so what has the last like 48 hours been like right now that this has happened? And I'm sure you're hearing from folks, but like, I would love to know like what the drive home's been like. Are you hearing from people, or I mean, what's been the reaction from the people that surround you, Derek, the people that operate in your circle?
Oh, my phone's been blowing up. I mean, I've had over 150 text messages and phone calls, and Facebook's just going crazy. I've tried to answer everybody back. If I haven't, I'm sorry, but I've been busy getting home. It's been a hell of an experience, and thanks for calling.
I'm glad, because you deserve that, right? Like that's what I want it to be. Like I want this to be a real meaningful happening in the sport of drag racing, and I think it's like the perfect way to kickstart the 2024 season. What do you have on the docket for 2024? Where does the World Series of Pro Mod reigning champion go from here? I mean, I'd love to know a little bit about your racing plans in 2024 and where ourselves and the drag racing fans around the world can follow Derek Ward throughout the rest of the year.
First race will be Galat, so I'm trying to run PDRA and the Northeast Pro Mod again.
So you'll run a large majority of both of those events?
Yes.
Both those series? Awesome, man. I think the PDRA, what can you say about that group of people as an organization? I think they were 10 for 10 in finals. They had every finalist in every category had a PDRA connection. And I mean, holy moly, right? We had two titans of Pro Boost and Pro Nitrous in the finals. I don't know that they could ask for any more. I think it's we've been talking internally about how we can really ramp up the different sanction and series involvement in the race, because that's probably one of the coolest thing to see is the starting line with Tommy, Tyler, Amber, Ashley, Judy, the whole Franklin family and the PDRA family with those big flags behind the car. Like I love seeing them own that moment and
they
take
had
pride.
They had the tent in the pits. They had meetings. I think they had a breakfast or lunch or something for their teams. And then in the winter circle, they were like all the PDRA team members, even Nate. They even got Nate because he's basically like a PDRA team member at this point, because he goes to so many of these events, all back there carrying the PDRA flag, shouting PDRA in the winter circle. So that was really cool to see. And they definitely set the bar, and they always show out down there.
They really do, man. And I think I'm gonna work up some plans. Anybody that's interested in this, like I'm gonna work up some plans for like some kind of repeatable programs that we can offer for teams to like allow them to come in, set up a hospitality tent, provide some hospitality to their racers or their fans, or do something meaningful, because I think it would be really cool to have like a considerable section of our vendor midway, dedicated to like, oh, that's the PDRA Camp PDRA, and that's Camp Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod, and that's Camp NMCA and Camp Midwest Drag Racing Series, and like let that be more a part of it and connect to more people. We've been talking about weaving in some sort of team formats and whatnot, or some sort of scorekeeping on various different race teams and where they come from. But nonetheless, man. So I got a kind of closing questions. Can we? I guess I'm gonna just ask you right here. Can we expect you back in 2025 to defend your crown? I'm gonna offer you the first invite right now.
Oh, definitely. I will definitely be there.
All right, buddy. We will get you. We'll get you locked in. And Derek, seriously, thank you so much for your support and belief. Congratulations on your championship in 2023 with the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Associations. I remind people that if you're a top performer in any of these sanctions or series, or a champion, you're always going to get the nod to be involved with the World Series of Pro Mod. That's how Derek Ward claimed his spot in 2024, was by being the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association champion. I would have had him there anyways, but that locked it in early. Derek, thank you so much for your support and belief, spending your time and money to come down and go drag racing with us. And thanks for helping us make history, man.
Yep. Thanks for having me. That's for sure. It was a hell of a race.
We're just getting started, big dog. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks, brother.